How is it going, everyone? It's Caleb Limited here, and today we are going to be talking about a video game on the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. We're talking about Castlevania The Adventures. Now, Castlevania The Adventures was the first ever Castlevania game to be put onto the Game Boy. And I will give them this. It's ambitious. Now, that's about all I can say in terms of praising this game. I will say this, the music is pretty good. I do like the music, and some of the sound effects I think are pretty decent. But the actual gameplay and the stuff that really matters, unfortunately, isn't very good. This game is, first of all, very, very slow. You are walking through the entire time. It's not even a power walk. It is a slog of a walk. You are so slow in this game. It takes forever to get anywhere. And you are constantly battling enemies. And the annoying thing about these enemies is that even if they don't hit you, the hitboxes are so bad in this game, it will probably register that you are getting hit no matter what you do. And that can be really annoying because you can see a clear space between you and an object that's coming at you sometimes, and you'll still take damage, and there's just nothing you can do about it. So that was definitely not great. Some other things that started happening later on was the boss fights just were very inconsistent. They weren't very well designed. A lot of the levels and areas actually just are not well designed in general. There's one level in particular that is just full of spikes everywhere. And it is just basically you trying to outrun a bunch of spikes over and over and over again throughout the entire level. And it is completely just trial and error. It is hoping to get it right. You know, there's no way. I don't believe that anyone could get this on their first try playing through this game. It is so tough. And it's not tough in a good way. It's not tough in a way that feels fair. It's tough in a way that they were trying to basically make the runtime a little bit longer than this game is kind of what it feels like. They were kind of trying to... It feels like they were trying to design this game less for you to beat it and more for the game to beat you. That's kind of what it feels like. It's just not very well designed, especially when you get to platforming sections as well, because the level design is already bad, but they throw in a bunch of platforming, and it is so hard to get the platforming right. Once you finally get used to it, it's still pretty bad, but you can at least do it. But learning how to do platforming in this game is such a pain in the butt, because you have to be like on the edge of the block before you jump on every single block to be able to make it to the next one. And it is a pain in the butt, especially because this game isn't the most stable game in the world, so sometimes it does stutter, and it will make it so like you think you're about to jump and then you press the button and like it stutters and then you just fall off the cliff. This just is not a very great performing game. Performance-wise, it's not great. The way it's designed just isn't great. It just overall is kind of a letdown of a video game. I picked this up as kind of a blind buy. I didn't really know anything about this Castlevania game. I was just wanting to play a Castlevania game, and this one I thought looks kind of cool, because the graphics do look kind of neat. You know, it's obviously black and white because it's Game Boy, and the actual character, you know, he looks similar enough to what you see in the other Castlevania games to be recognizable, and everything looks like Castlevania. This game does capture the feeling of Castlevania. It captures the theme. It just... The gameplay, unfortunately, is very, very lacking. I think one of the worst things about the platforming in this game and how precise you have to be with the platforming is the fact that this game is not very forgiving when it comes to deaths. If you die, it doesn't just put you right back on the same screen. It might put you actually several screens behind where you were, so then you just have to grind to get right back to where you were, and as easy as that may be, if you get familiar to the level, you have to get there, and then you have to try where you died again. So if you die there again because you're still trying to learn the patterns of the different platforms, because there's some platforms that are literally spikes that are coming right at you, and you have to figure out what the pattern is going to be. So when you're trying to figure that out, and if you get killed when you're trying to figure it out, it will put you multiple screens behind again, and you have to get there all over again. And it just is not fun to do that, you know, because you're having an easy time getting there at that point, but it feels like you're just replaying the same slop over and over again, especially because this game is so slow and so slow to get to where you want to be. So by the time you actually get there, you know, you're finally ready to do the platforming, and if you die, it's just like, oh, now I can't focus on what I need to do anymore. Now I got to replay a bunch of parts of this game that are really slow just to get back to the platforming level, which is the main part that I'm struggling with. And I wish it would just save right before the platforming areas. I wish it would. That way, if you fall off a cliff, it just spawns you right at the beginning of the platforming area instead of spawning you multiple screens back. It's rough. And while you do get continues in this game, and that's good, and there's continues, and from what I can tell, there's unlimited continues. Believe me, I use them a lot. While there's a lot of continues in this game, it doesn't really help too much, because at the end of the day, it still makes you restart the level from scratch. So whenever you're doing that, that just means that if you were dying late in the level somewhere, which you probably were, you probably got a decent ways in and you were dying close to the end of the level, it means you got to play all that slop all the way again to where you were. And if you're still trying to figure out the patterns, then I got bad news for you. You're probably going to have to use another continue and replay the level all over again. This is just a grind of a game. It's not really fun, particularly. It captures the essence of what Castlevania is, but it just does not capture the gameplay that I've seen from the Castlevania games I have played. You know, I've played Castlevania 1, and I enjoy Castlevania 1 even though I'm not good at it. You know, I can admit that Castlevania 1 is actually still a really fun video game. Castlevania The Adventures on the Game Boy, however, unfortunately is just not a good video game. It's lacking quite a bit. It's just not great. The boss fights start off okay. The first boss is okay. Then the second boss just is a gank fight, and it's really annoying. The third boss is like, I think, a flying enemy, and that one I actually kind of like. I thought the flying enemy was fun to fight. The final enemy is like Dracula or something, and he's kind of fun to fight until he has the stupid alternate form, and I always hate it when video games do that stupid trope where it's just like, oh, you beat the boss, but here's his second phase. Like that's one of my pet peeves of video games. I hate it when that happens, and they do that also. And I feel like there's another boss fight in there somewhere that I'm forgetting, but I can't remember what it was because, frankly, they weren't really that memorable anyway. All I can really say about this game is that I don't think that this game is really worth picking up. It's $20, usually around $20 from what I've seen. That's how much I picked it up for, and I mean it's not worth $20. This is not a $20 game. I think there's other ways to play this. I think that this is actually part of the Castlevania collection, like the handheld collection. I don't know what that collection is actually called, but I believe that this is in that collection. And if you're going to play it, you probably should just do it through that, because getting this game by itself for $20 definitely doesn't feel like you're getting a very good deal. So I'm going to leave this video there. Hope that you guys enjoyed. Go check out any Castlevania game other than this one. I'll talk to you in the next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.